Hello. Today I'm going to be going over how to prepare for hard mode Conquest when you hit 4 million GP on your new account in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I'm making this video because given the recent changes to the economy and lightspeed tokens, I think a lot of players are going to find that they hit 4 million GP sooner rather than later, and perhaps aren't prepared or don't know about hard mode Conquest. So I thought I'd make a little bit of an explainer in terms of what it is, why you want to do well in it, and then go over the best teams to prepare for doing hard mode Conquest, but also for doing Proving Grounds, which is an event that is attached to Conquest that is one of the most valuable events in the game, and it definitely pays to be as prepared as possible for it. So what is hard mode Conquest? So it's an event that comes up every month and lasts for 2 weeks, and there's 3 levels: easy, normal and hard. Easy, there's no requirement. Normal, you only have to have completed easy mode, but hard mode there is 4 million GP requirement, and you also have had to complete normal mode Conquest. It's one of the only hard GP blocks in the game, maybe the only hard GP block for an individual player. There are sort of guild GP requirements, but I'm not too aware of too many other restrictions that don't let you do things before hitting a certain GP level, but that is the case in hard mode. It's got recommended sort of GP levels. I would ignore that. I think if you're well prepared, then as soon as you hit 4 million, you can start to do quite well. So what does doing well in Conquest mean? So in Conquest, the aim is ultimately to get as high a crate at the end of Conquest, and you do this by earning key cards, and you earn key cards by progressing through battles and also doing set feats. And the box that you are aiming for when you first start and you're a much smaller account is this 450 keycard box I've highlighted. The highest keycard box I think is 630, and that's called the red crate because it's a red crate, and it's the highest and the one with the best rewards. But 450 is a good one to aim for, and the reason to do that is because it contains the new Conquest character shards and also the previous Conquest character. And what I mean by that is every 3 months they put a new character into the game that you can only earn by completing Conquest. For example, at the moment it's the Stranger, and depending on how well you do in Conquest, you earn a certain amount of that new Conquest character shards. And if you are hitting the maximum crate that you can and also picking up the shards elsewhere, you can expect to unlock that new Conquest character in 3 months. That's the fastest anyone in the game. Even the biggest whales can unlock a new Conquest character, but that maximum crate is quite hard to achieve, especially for smaller accounts. But this 450 crate, which I think is the third last crate, is the minimum crate that contains enough shards to earn that Conquest character within 6 months, because after 6 months the new Conquest character disappears from Conquest rewards and you can't earn them anymore, and you ultimately have to wait a year before you can start farming them. So it's pretty crucial to be able to unlock that Conquest character within that 6-month window, and that's why you want to be hitting this crate. But in addition to that, you also have to pick up the shards through other ways in Conquest. So as you progress through Conquest, as most will know, there will be these Jawa scavenger nodes where you can buy things. So you can buy character shards, but you can also buy signal data and gear. But if your aim is to unlock the character at the end of the Conquest and you're completely free to play, which is important. You have to earn this crate every time, but also pick up the maximum number of that new character's shards from the scavenger each time. So that is the goal, and that is how you can unlock the new Conquest characters. I should say that if you are a spender, you can buy a pass that is $10 each time. That essentially gives you more shards of the new Conquest character in addition to the crate reward, which means you don't have to buy these shards also from the scavenger, and you can spend the currency that you earn through Conquest on other useful stuff like signal data and gear. But essentially this is the minimum, not requirement, but is really what I think most active players should be aiming for, is to be able to unlock the new Conquest character within that 6-month window. And why do you want to unlock it within that 6-month window? And that's because CG makes it very painful for you if you miss out during that time, because you then have to wait about a year, maybe a little bit less, but around a year, until that character becomes farmable again. And by farmable, I don't mean from like a node in the game. They become farmable through this event called Proving Grounds. So if you're not past 4 million, you might not even be aware of this event. I don't think I was aware of it until I sort of started to get into this area, and it actually appeared in game. But what Proving Grounds is, for all Conquest characters that have ever been in the game that are over a year old, you can earn shards of them for each Proving Ground event. And Proving Grounds comes the day after Conquest finishes, and what you can earn is 20 shards of each of these old characters through these events, but only 20 shards if you don't spend any more crystals or any more money. So if you're completely free to play, you can only pick up 20 shards each time, and of course you need 330 shards to unlock, so that can take, quick maths, about a year and a half to unlock after the character has gone into this Proving Ground event. So that is really why you want to be ready to unlock the characters directly through Conquest and not wait until they go into Proving Grounds, because you're looking at, in reality, 2.5 years until you can unlock them, which is crazy. There is ways to speed it up. You can buy this other pass that is £30 and includes the other Conquest pass, which means you get 2 attempts for not for free, but you get 2 attempts without spending any more crystals for each Proving Ground event, and that sort of doubles your speed, but it's still quite a lot of money, and you can also spend crystals to refresh. So yeah, it's pretty painful, to be honest, and you already have to go through that process for unlocking past Conquest characters. You don't want to miss out on new Conquest characters if you can help it. Oh, and also the thing about Proving Grounds, even though you can attempt to unlock 20 shards each time, it's not guaranteed. What you have to do is you have to complete a battle, Relic 3 requirement, and for each Conquest character that you're earning shards for, there's a different battle that you have to beat. Some can be fairly challenging, so it can be the case that even though you've unlocked Proving Grounds, you're not actually able to start earning the shards because the battle is too difficult and you don't have the right teams in order to beat it. So in addition to preparing for Conquest itself, it also helps to prepare for Proving Grounds and make sure you have sort of good teams ready to go, so that when you start to do it, you can complete those battles at 3 stars straight away and get going. So I'm now going to hop into game and show my recommended teams and how to prepare for Conquest, so that you can start aiming towards this 450 keycard crate as soon as you hit 4 million. So the first team I'm going to talk about may seem like a bit of a big one, but the reason I'm going to be recommending Leia is for two purposes really. First of all, she's really great in Conquest itself, can get through pretty much any node, especially ones that you're struggling on. Very sturdy team, can work at low stamina. Great team just to have for Conquest itself. Probably the best team I have here. But the main reason that you want to unlock Leia is for Proving Grounds, because I'm pretty certain, I'm not sure about the very recent ones, but definitely for the vast majority of Proving Ground battles she can do, which means you don't need to have a whole variety of teams. You just need Leia and you can 3-star everything, and that will be even more certain now that we have Relic Delta, because you saw that the requirements were Relic 3 and the enemies are also Relic 3. So if you have a Leia team at R7, you're going to absolutely demolish all of those Proving Ground events. So it's definitely a very safe option to go for. In reality, given Relic Delta, you probably could use other GLs as well for Proving Grounds now, but she is more reliable, and also most importantly, and this is true for most of the teams in this list, her requirements are heavily dominated by the anniversary lightspeed tokens. So she's not only probably the best GL in the game, and also definitely in Conquest, she's also one of the most accessible characters, because I think about half of her requirements will be anniversary lightspeed tokens. So that means there is a very good chance that new players can get her unlocked early on, and definitely before they hit 4 million GP. So it is definitely by far the number one on this list, and just by doing anniversary quests you'll have half of her unlock already, and it'll just be a case of farming other requirements which aren't really that difficult, to be honest. So definitely a very accessible team. So moving on, if Leia is the queen of Proving Grounds, Pow or Padawan Obi-Wan is the king of Conquest itself, and more specifically his Omicron is the king of Conquest itself. So this is, I guess, a fairly recent addition in the last year and a half, I think, is Padawan Obi-Wan and his Omicron. We only have one other Conquest Omicron on Sortie, the droid, which is terrible, but this Omicron is a game changer specifically for smaller rosters. So I won't go through it all because it's very long. It gives a huge amount of stat boosts, and it does two very important things that help in Conquest. The first one is taking a bonus turn. So one of the big Conquest issues when fighting teams is they get a lot of buffs that give them a head start in the battle, an extra turn meter, and they can just sort of roll your team and you don't get any turns and you just get absolutely destroyed. But this 50% chance to get a bonus turn, even without a lot of the other stuff, is extremely handy in order to interrupt the flow of teams. And you also get a lot of health, recovery, some offense together with other stats. So you get 10% max health with each relic amplifier, and you want Padawan Obi-Wan at high relics anyway, so really good, just these two paragraphs, to be honest. But one of the big benefits is, and this only applies when he is above 50% stamina, so you just have to manage that a bit. It's not that much of an issue, but you just have to be wary of this. But above 50% stamina, he deals he or his ally deal a huge number of debuffs, which are important for getting feats, and also on their turn, Padawan Obi-Wan can grant buffs as well to his allies, which are also good for getting feats. So it does two things. It helps sort of bash through difficult Conquest nodes, but it also helps to get feats, which is really important early on, because you're just not going to have the depth of teams that you need to get all of the feats. And this won't get all of the buff feats, usually, but it will get most of them and mean you don't have to mess around with or low gear teams, or you might not even have the team to begin with to get certain feats. So this really makes things doable for smaller accounts and accounts just gone to 4 million GP. So this is definitely, I guess, almost mandatory in my opinion for smaller accounts. And one of the benefits is that Padawan Obi-Wan and Master Qui-Gon are needed for a very good assault battle, so you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone early on. You can get them up to relic 7. This is my main account, so they're relic 9. You can get them to relic 7 for their assault battle, but then you can also get a lot of benefit from Padawan Obi-Wan in Conquest. And teams you can use them with, so I'm focusing mostly on lightspeed token teams because that is what people will have access to mostly. It's not going to be the best team, but it's going to be solid at higher stamina and with the Omicron, but you can stick him under a Kelleran Beck lead with some other Galactic Republic Jedi. Grandmaster Yoda is quite good in Conquest as well because he can spread buffs and also does some foresight and get some bonus turns as well, so is also typically quite a good Conquest character. Shakti as well can sort of pass turn meter. Dispel is quite a sort of versatile plug and play Jedi, so this team should be solid. If you wanted to sort of upgrade, Jedi Knight Revan is always a good shout. This might not be necessary straight away, or maybe it's a little side project, so I'm really not saying that you need to do this, but he will improve the team, make it a little bit more, I guess, all-conquering in Conquest, so because he's got a lot of abilities on his own that are really beneficial, and when you pair that with Padawan Obi-Wan, it makes a very strong team indeed. But at first, definitely focus on the teams that you're getting lightspeed tokens for. Then moving on, so we're going to, I guess, the former king of Conquest, who has now been dethroned, and that is CLS. So the reason this team's so good in Conquest is because they can run a bit of a turn meter train eventually, but the big thing is that they have Han Solo, who has an ability to go before everyone else, so he can shoot first, which is his ability, and sort of prevent teams often from getting like a big head start. And they also deal a lot of debuffs and exposes, which is important because there's a lot of data discs which you get given in Conquest that revolve around debuffs and doing damage depending on debuffs, that sort of thing. There's specific builds of discs that I won't go into that are very powerful with CLS, so it's a very good sort of all-round Conquest team, and it's also very accessible with the lightspeed tokens. So Commander Luke Skywalker himself, 3PO and Chewie and Chewbacca are all lightspeed tokens, or the 3PO and Chewie, you'd use the droid lightspeed token. C3PO, you might not need him specifically, but would be very good. You could maybe put someone like Captain Drogon into the team if you use the lightspeed token on him, but you probably want him in the Leia team. If you're going for Leia, you should have 3 Ewoks already who are requirements, so it shouldn't really be that difficult at all to unlock C3PO and put some gear on him and stick him in the team. Han Solo, that is one you'd have to farm specifically, but he is a Jabba requirement, which is a very good early game GL as well, so it's a very sort of new player friendly team and lightspeed token friendly team, which is important. Now the next team I have isn't necessarily ranked in terms of its ability in Conquest. It is a solid Conquest team, but is a little bit more situational. It is specifically good against things like the Inquisitors, but there's also, especially in earlier sectors, it's quite a strong team. They can like counterattack and sort of interrupt things a little bit, and once they get rolling, especially with certain data discs. Like there's one that's really good for supports, and Captain Rex is a support, and a lot of good debuff ones as well. So it's a solid Conquest team, and you'll make a lot of use of it early on. But of course, pretty much all of these guys are lightspeed tokens apart from Kanan. You could probably get away with sticking Ezra in there, but also if you wanted to farm up Kanan, he completes the team as well. He's sort of good outside of Conquest in the team as well. So this is I've ranked it quite highly because it's so accessible, and you'll really have this team anyway just by doing the lightspeed tokens, so may as well use it in Conquest, and it is pretty good. Moving on to this team. So this one is quite interesting. When I first started playing, which was just over a couple years ago, nearly 3 years ago, and I started Conquest, I barely had any teams, but there was sort of lightspeed bundle that gave a few of these guys, and I had Beskar Mando for the Executor, and it was a surprisingly overpowered team in Conquest. It is very data disc dependent, and the reason it's so good is because, firstly, because of Dash. Rendar, he is a support, so there's a data disc called Zealous Ambition, which is actually in the game at the moment, which lets support characters do damage based on their health, and he does sort of multi-damage AoE, which is extremely powerful with that. And there's also data discs called Amplify Agony that deal damage based on debuffs, and when paired with another data disc, which isn't always in the game, so this is a bit more situational, and you use Dash's AoE, he just does so many instances of damage that it completely wipes out teams, and you can have quite a good support team around it as well. Obviously this overlaps with the CLS team, so you can't always use both of them, but you can sort of mix and match certain characters. But characters like Beskar Armor Mando are also pretty good in Conquest because he's quite good at keeping other scoundrels alive, because he gets a bonus turn and can grant them healing immunity if they fall, not healing immunity, the opposite, damage immunity, when they fall below certain health thresholds. So he's quite good for keeping the team alive and not losing out on stars. And then you've got the same thing with like Han Solo starting their characters. So it's a pretty good team, and the reason I've recommended it is, first of all, because of lightspeed tokens. So Beskar Armor Mandalorian is a lightspeed token. Chewbacca Cara Dune will also be one. Really, any decent scoundrel would be good. And you don't even necessarily have to put in Han Solo. It probably would help a lot just to get things started. So this would be very much an optional farm. But Dash is a requirement for Star Killer, and I do know quite a few people are going for Star Killer quite early, and if that is your plans, or you have the Star Killer bundle, Lightspeed bundle, which is available when you're under 4 million, this is quite a nice team to get up and running for Conquest. But I maybe wouldn't go completely out of your way to get it if Dash isn't in your plans already. But if you are going for Star Killer, then this is a very good use of that. It's a very good Conquest team. Then also we have Great Mothers. So this is another solid team for Conquest that makes use of not of lightspeed tokens, but a team that is quite popular with newer accounts. It's not necessarily in my own immediate farming plans, but people do work in this team because it's good in its assault battle, and also they are Balin requirements, the 2 Night Sisters here, and they'll be quite good in Conquest because the very common thing, Great Mothers get a bonus turn at the start of the battle, so can sort of kickstart things, and it's quite a powerful team as well in its own right. So would be a very solid option for Conquest at 4 million. And you can also be very efficient and farm like the Night Troopers for their assault battle and stick them in the team. You don't necessarily need Merrin, but may be helpful to have her in there as well. And the reason I put her is because she's a requirement character at gear 12. So yeah, you don't necessarily need Merrin, but would be helpful. Now, returning to what I would call a Lightspeed token team. So as you can see, to my great shame, I don't actually have Bo-Katan Mandalore on this sort of bigger account, but is just an all-round very solid team, and Conquest will be no different. Quite durable, won't be the absolute best team in the world, but will be very accessible because this will be a Lightspeed token and you're getting Lightside Mandalorian Lightspeed token. Also another requirement character, Keller and Beck, you are getting a Lightspeed token. So just one other farm, one other character, and you've unlocked Bo-Katan Mandalore, who is good for that territory battle mission and just good in GAC in general. So it's quite a strong, robust team that will sort of be a good addition to the rotation for Conquest. So yeah, definitely worth working on anyway, but also worth working on to help you through Conquest early on. So I think that leaves just one team, and this, I would say this is really optional because it doesn't really feed into any farms, but is one of the ultimate cheap but good Conquest team. And the reason for that is they're all at relics now because I think I bought a Lightspeed bundle and various sort of TB missions as well. But when I first started Conquest, this team pretty much got me through it. And what I had Old Daka, relics, and I think all of the other ones were like gear 12 max, usually less. And the reason it's so good in Conquest is because this team like constantly revives, so it's good at staying, at not losing stars, but also because they deal so much plague, which is a debuff, and there's a lot of data discs around dealing debuffs. So you ultimately actually want these characters to die to deal out that debuff, so it's actually pretty beneficial to have them weak apart from Old Daka, and maybe Merrin as well if you want to relic her up. So it's quite funny when the right data discs are in play, just how crazy overpowered this team is at like gear 10 characters. So it's a fun one to work on. It is very much a side farm sort of thing. Only Merrin is a requirement character. They are very easy to farm, all of these characters, but they don't have a lot of other uses outside of Conquest. This is a very specialist team, so this would maybe be the sort of team if you start Conquest 4 million and you're just like, oh, I don't have enough teams, I only have CLS and Phoenix or something, you haven't unlocked Leia, then it might be a team to work on. But outside of that, the Great Mothers have really replaced them in terms of their assault battles, so you would just work on this team instead. But maybe if you get the right Lightspeed bundle, or you just want to work on them for fun, it's definitely one of the best specialist Conquest teams, I would say, and very good for new accounts. So that's my list. I've tried to keep it relatively short because this is a list of teams to get by 4 million. So I'm very conscious of the fact that most players just won't have a lot of teams. So I've tried to recommend ones that are quite accessible or use requirement characters where possible. But really, just to reiterate, the main ones for me are Leia, Padawan Obi-Wan, and CLS, and then I guess Phoenix, who you'll just have anyway. Even with those 4, if you manage correctly, you should be able to get to the end of Conquest. It might be quite difficult, but it should be possible with just these 4 teams up and running. To make things easier, potentially try supplement it with one of the other more side teams that I've mentioned down here, like Dash or Great Mothers, and definitely Bo-Katan, who in my opinion is worthwhile working on anyway, so may as well work on them early and throw them into Conquest. So that's the guide. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.